course. So can you tell me, what's the purpose of this event? Why are we in Pennsylvania, a state pretty far away from the two that you represent? And also, why cognac and cigars?
So Byron and I are from the free states of Texas and Florida. We lead the union. And Pennsylvania is a swing state. It's a state that President Trump has got to win in order for us to win here in November. And what we've realized is that President Trump is doing remarkably well amongst the Black male vote across the country. We are polling the best that we've seen in decades. And so what we've realized is this: we have to go fish where the fish are. We have to go take the Republican message to the Black community, because as I've said dozens and dozens of times, Black issues are American issues. And if we can distill it out in a way that's very simple, what's happening at the border is a travesty. People hate what's happening with the inflation in this country. People are not feeling safer than they were when President Trump was in office. These are very basic American type values that we are all owed as being citizens here. And so I asked Byron to do this. He is one of my best friends in Congress. He is one hell of a leader in the halls of Congress. And the fact that he's willing to join us, along with the great Michelle Tafoya as well, later on, you will see her. I got to tell you, it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be fighting for our cause, but it's taking common sense, Republican conservative values to the Black community, and that's why we're here.
Rep. Donalds, what inspired you and motivated you to join in on this event today?
At my core, I've always been very active in politics, not just sitting behind the scenes and pushing buttons on Capitol Hill, or even when I was in the state level at Tallahassee. It's about getting out and seeing people directly. It's about building relationships. I think on the campaign trail, especially when you get in the heated campaigns, people say, well, what's your outreach? No. Outreach is not what we're doing. This is full engagement.
Let's go.
This is relationship building. This is taking the common sense approaches of conservatism and explaining it to people who typically don't vote Republican, and say, this is who we are. This is who we stand for. Here's our backgrounds, and we'll come to you. Like, you don't have to turn on the TV. You don't got to go to YouTube to see what I think. I'll come sit with you. Now, to cognac and cigars, I'm a connoisseur myself. So I got no problem sitting in here and having a drink and having a smoke and just talking to issues, whether it's politics, whether it's basketball, whether it's just life and the building blocks of success, and how you work your way through the trials and tribulations that come to us all. And I think that's why I'm here. That's why Wesley's here. Last thing I'll say, President Trump is doing a great job, better than any Republican that has
modern history
when it comes to Black men. But polling in June is one thing. Execution in November is another. And so I like where we are, but you got to get out into areas. You have to be in Philly. You have to be in other cities and say, you know what, here we are, here's what we're about. And if you always do what you've always done, which is voting for Joe Biden and the Democrats, you're going to always be where you've always been.
Democrats just pander, and nothing ever changes. Welcome back, Warriors. It's me, Linda B. Thank you all so much for watching. This is an interview with the Cognac and Cigars event that was in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I believe it's the same event where, Byron Donalds got all that flack for making those comments about Black marriage being better, in the Jim Crow era, which he was just using for historical context. But anyway, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I am on my way to 40,000 subscribers this month. Could really use your help. Please share my videos. This is a very important video, and it needs to be shared across all your social media platforms, whether it's Facebook, X, Instagram. Really share this video, because we need to get the information out. This is a very important election. Now let's get back to the video.
More inflation and not getting ahead and wondering why things aren't working out.
Amen.
Well, you've mentioned inflation, the border. What are the issues that Black men especially care about right now?
Oh, man. I'm going to do the first one, but I'm passing it to you.
Go ahead.
Generational wealth.
Yeah.
This is more than just having a job. This is more than just saying, okay, my kids have an opportunity to go to school and make something of themselves. It's more than just saying, oh, you get to protect your right to vote, because guess what? Ain't nobody stopping a Black man from voting in the United States of America in 2024. It ain't happening. It's about, can I build generational wealth for me and for mine? Can I have something I can move on to the next generation? Can I set my kids up to basically build their lives on my shoulders? That's what this is about. And I think that's why you're seeing Black men, and really men in general, but black men in particular, are starting to have that their eyes are turning, saying, okay, we need better policies and better ideas that are going to help us excel to new heights.
He is spot on, and you cannot build generational wealth when you live in paycheck to paycheck. It really is just that simple. 4 years ago, we were not living paycheck to paycheck, and now we are. And I think people are realizing that, especially black men, that we want to get back to that. And how do we build that wealth for our families? How do we live just in a better way? Somebody said earlier today, and that's what the Democratic Party has done a very good job of, is bringing up racism a lot. And I'm going to tell you something. Byron and I aren't slaves, and nobody that's living today is a slave owner. We have moved on. And the idea that we are sitting here right now from majority white districts, the both of us, as strong black men, is supposed to tell you that we are living Dr. Martin Luther King's dream. We are literally being judged not by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character. So stop that. So what's in the best interest of our families from a policy standpoint? Easy is the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's pretty wild to me that I'm looking at 50% of the black male Republicans in Congress right now,
doubled up from last
which
year
is
too,
yes,
right?
doubled.
So,
yeah,
Double
so
up.
there used to be 2 in the last Congress.
there's
Now there's 4.
Yes.
So talk to me about your personal experience. Like you said, what is it like being 2 of the top male Republicans, black male Republicans in Congress right now? And how are you using that experience to target a new set of voters that haven't been tapped before?
Honestly, sometimes it feels like you're pioneers. You know, before I came in, you had JC, you had Alan West. So there was you always had you had Mia Love, you always had a black representative in Congress. When I came in, the thing that I was so happy about was that Burgess Owens out of Utah won his race too. Because it can't just be, oh, well, they have one black person, look at our diversity picture. I'm not interested in that. It's Burgess is here. Next Congress, Wesley and John, now they join us. You still have Tim in the Senate. And now it's about really building that out. So I don't look at it in terms of you were 2 and now you're 4. I look at it as we're building.
Right.
And we're demonstrating to the country that Republican ideals aren't white versus black. Republican ideas, number 1, are common sense. Number 2.
Common sense. We're going to get to that number 2 in just a moment. I just wanted to say that Republican ideas truly are common sense. We were all raised with Republican ideas. Somehow the Democrats crafted a plan to get the black vote, which involved the black preacher, the black politician, and the black civil rights worker. And it started in the 60s. It started a little bit before with FDR, but it really got a push in the 60s using Martin Luther King Jr. to the civil rights worker, the black civil rights worker, the black preacher, and the black politician. The Democrats came up with a plan, and that's how we switched from voting Republican to Democrat. The parties didn't switch. The voter constituency base switched. And we were raised on common sense Republican conservative ideas because we were raised with you work. Don't depend on the government. No one was raised with, grow up so you can depend on the government. That's Democrat stuff. Republicans are like, no, you work for a living. You get up, you don't be lazy, you pull yourself up by your bootstraps. That is a Republican way of thinking and how we were raised. Men were raised up to be men, not put on lipstick and put on high heels and a dress and say you identify as a woman. We weren't raised like that. Men were raised up. You take care of home. You take care of your children. You go out and you work and you protect your family. And that's what the Republicans are saying. But then we got into this men not being in the home and the woman depending on the government. That we're better than that. We are better than that.
2, it's about helping everybody have that green.
That's right.
Because the biggest separator in life a lot of times isn't the color of your skin, it's the color of what's in your wallet.
That's right.
And if you can have that, right, with the right mindset, the right skill sets, and the right culture moving your country, everybody can be successful.
But where has the disconnect been? Historically, why do you think that the Republican Party has had a hard time winning over black voters, male black voters especially?
You want to take that one?
Yeah, of course.
Go ahead.
No,
You take it.
no, of course. And so, I grew up in a very conservative home. My parents grew up in a segregated South. They were born and raised in New Orleans. They met at Southern University, went to a historically black college and university. That's where they met. My parents are some of the most conservative people you'll ever meet in your life. But if you talk to my uncles, my parents' generation, they're all Democrat. And what do? They say, well, we're all Democrats, ergo, y'all have to be Democrats. And here's why. And they carry that from generation to the next generation without recognizing that the generations have changed. The needs of the generations have changed. Society has changed tremendously. I think out of here when I talk, you will hear me talk about my great-great-grandfather. My great-great-grandfather was born on a plantation. My brother, sister, and I all went to West Point. We all served our country. We all, at one point, were in Baghdad at the same time fighting for this country as the great-great-grandson and great-great-grandchildren of slavery. So don't tell me that the issues that were back in the 50s and 60s are the same issues now, because they're not. Now, that takes guys like us to step up and say, don't just do it because your mama said so, or because your daddy said so. Things have changed, and here's why. And then now people are looking around there realizing this is not about race anymore. It's not. This is about wealth. This is about the economy. This is about living day to day and putting food on the table. We've come a very long way in this country. Are we perfect? No. Have we solved everything? No. Is there a panacea? No. But if you're going to tell me that me sitting here, right here with you, and thinking about where my dad was, where he grew up, because he was born in 1949. His 75th birthday is this year. He's alive and well. The Civil Rights Act was passed in 1964. My dad never spent a day in school with a white person. And then meanwhile, his son is the congressman for a majority white district that President Trump would have won by 30 points. What does that tell you? So this is the message now with the fresh start that we can now say, look, we understand that was the past. This is what we have now. Democrats want to take us back, and we want to move forward and build on that growth that we have seen for the past 3 generations.
Now, looking toward the 2024 election, I want to talk about President Trump and his messaging for GOP Black male voters. So what do you think how has he been able to win over the support of Black voters, especially? I believe in 2020, he had about 8% of the Black vote, about 12% or more of the Black male vote. So,
actually, 2020, it was 18.7. Okay. Yeah.
18.7. So how do you think Trump has specifically been able to target the Black community, and what policies did he have in place during his presidency that you think benefited the Black community the most?
Well, I mean, look, the first thing is that he refocused the federal government on people being able to make money. Actually, what are the inputs into our country, starting with trade? What are the different policies that our agencies are putting out, limiting regulations so capital can flow more freely? When you have a lot more capital flow in your economy, more people can take advantage of that. And so that's the number one thing that he did. Then he went and he did things with the First Step Act, looking at criminal justice reform, something that most Republicans would say, no, don't touch that. But he looked at it and said, you know what? Some of these things are wrong. We're going to fix it. We're going to modernize it. We're going to bring it into the year 2018 at the time. Yeah. That's what he did. President Trump is not afraid of looking at an issue and saying, no, we're changing that. Where historically, I'm going to be critical of my party. A lot of Republicans will look at something and say, oh, well, you know, I'm not sure how that polls. Maybe we can't touch that. He's not thinking about that.
He does not care.
And that strength in leadership, that resonates with a segment of Black men. Because a segment of Black men look at that and they say, well, that's exactly what I thought. I'm glad he actually did it, as opposed to not being able to talk clearly about it or being afraid of what the media might say about it. That strength in leadership, that vision and directness in leadership is something that our country needs. And I think that's why you're seeing his numbers grow this time. To his message.
What is it?
Where you going, July 13th?
I don't know if I'm going anywhere. Why do you keep bringing that date up? I don't know about going anywhere July 13th.
Synagogue?
Yeah, I don't know about going anywhere except the synagogue.
In this campaign, what I've seen directly from him, he's talking about all Americans.
Yeah.
He's not talking about Republicans. And of course, the hat, it says "Make America Great Again." He says MAGA. He says every now and again. But if you listen to what he's saying, everything is about the solutions for all Americans. Right. So everybody can thrive and succeed. He's not talking to just Republicans. He's not just talking to independents. He's not just talking to Democrats. When we were in the Bronx, I was with him. What he talked about on that stage was about people in the Bronx, people in New York City,
BCF.
rebuilding that city, getting ahead.
BCF.
That's right.
South Carolina, yeah.
Get ahead. We're going to rebuild this thing so everybody can get ahead, so people can be successful. You got to understand, the man's made billions.
Yeah, he doesn't
have to do this.
He could do this.
He could go chill. and Mar-a-Lago, which is worth more than $18 million. I promise you that. It's way more than $18 million. Somebody tell Letitia James.
The chandeliers are worth that. Chandeliers are worth that.
Listen, man, somebody go tell Letitia James she don't know how to count. But anyway, but he could do anything else he wants to do. But the man loves this country. He legitimately does. I think people understand that. They respect that, and they galvanize.
I want to piggyback on that too. You hit on everything domestic, but also from an international standpoint. We had world peace. You know that?
Yeah.
We had world peace.
Yeah.
He is the first Republican president that said, "I am going to move the embassy to Jerusalem in Israel," and he did, and the world respected it. Iran was broke, so they were not on path to have a nuclear weapon and be a nuclear power to harm the world. Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin were terrified of this man because he was strong. And that strength is something that we can resonate to, especially being men that are raising our families. No, I want a strong alpha that's going to keep the world in line. And that's what we had for 4 years. People were complaining about mean tweets, not complaining about World War III.
True.
That's what we need. We need strong leadership. And Trump exemplifies, like they mentioned it here, that alpha personality. Trump don't care what you think. And whatever comes out. Yes, I wish he wouldn't say certain things, but when you look at policy and how the country was doing and how we personally was doing, you got to look at what matters. Do I care about a mean tweet when it comes to putting food on the table? Do all your mean tweets. But I'm doing better under a person that had mean tweets than I am under a person who really needs not to be president, for he's declined a lot. And I'm not saying that as picking. I don't want to pick, but I'm just as a factual statement. Joe Biden is declining cognitively, physically. I mean, he exemplifies weakness, and he goes along with these things that are immoral and detrimental to everyone, destroying our country from within. And we really act like this is about different groups, liberal versus conservative, this versus this. No, this is a battle between good and evil for the soul of the country. We are dealing with issues here, from illegal immigration to people having high inflation. The grocery bill is high. It's hard to live under these circumstances. And then you have illegals they're flooding mostly Black and brown neighborhoods. And then we want to vote Democrat. Why? That makes no sense. And I think the real problem is the media not reporting the news accurately, with a left spin and demonizing people that are trying to do right and praising people that are clearly doing wrong. And that messes with people's minds because they believe the news. They don't know that the news is lying. And so we need to get that out as well. People want strong leadership, and you need to be about results, not just words. Words, you can talk a good game all day, but what have you done for me lately?
True.
And I do have to ask, last week Trump was convicted. And so how do you think that Trump's conviction and guilty verdict will impact his perception among voters? Are you scared that could hurt his chances in swing states especially?
He raised $200 million in 72.
That 200 million shows me that people are like, yeah, that's stupid. We're with you.
Yes.
That's what it tells me.
We have not seen that in the history of this country. I got 200 million reasons why that's not going to work. If he were not running for president, this would not be happening, period. And I think anybody can admit that. This is happening to him because he is choosing to step into the fray and stick up for all of us. And he's willing to take all the arrows. And let me tell you something. He's not built like most people.
No.
We spent time with him. He is not built like most people. You ask him, how do you deal with this? He's like, I have a good life, Wesley. I'm going to play golf tomorrow morning. You know why? Because he's doing this for his children. He's doing this for his grandchildren. He knows that if it's not him, this country's gone. Yeah. And we appreciate him for doing this.
So we spent a bit of time talking about the former president. I want to talk about the current president, Joe Biden. So why do you think minority voters...
Where's my drink,
I don't even need
we'll
it
get
right
you
now.
through good after this.
I know we don't need it right. We don't need it right now. You're right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no. So
It's sober.
Go ahead.
Why do you guys think that minority voters, black male voters, have shifted away from President Biden?
Because he's trash. This man is terrible. Listen, look. Hold on.
That New York came out.
Because it's true.
The New York.
This man's horrible. Let me put it to you this way. I'm a native New Yorker. God bless the New York
It
Jets.
came out.
But the New York Jets have drafted quarterback after quarterback after quarterback. And after 3 games, the Jets fans look at themselves and they say, oh my gosh, we drafted a guy and he can't play. America has drafted Joe Biden into the White House and they realized, really after a year, he can't play. He cannot do the job. The man looks weak on the world stage. Today at his own presser, he gets done with his statement, looks to the side and mouths, am I taking questions? Like, who does this? You're the leader of the free world and you can't stand in front of reporters and take questions, and then you stumble off and you shuffle away. There is no sense of leadership coming from him. Nobody even barely hears from him. It'd be one thing if you talked all the time and then they built, a series of gaffes because you talk a lot. He barely talks. And the gaffe machine is as long as all of his public statements because the man's barely out there. And then you get to the actual policies, the actual decisions.
Yeah.
I have listen, Donald Trump is the master of names, naming somebody something, and I'm not taking that from him. But Joe Biden is the master of disaster.
Yeah.
And listen, not Apollo Creed, sorry, Rocky. I know we in Philly, but it's not Apollo Creed anymore. It's Joe Biden, the master of disaster. Everything this man has touched has gone to crap. It has all gone wrong.
It's the opposite of the golden touch.
He
right?
sucks.
And
we all know he sucks. Yeah. Listen, man, you know it's bad when the fans of your own team, when they see him coming down the tunnel, are like, we just hope he makes it.
I hope he makes it.
I hope he makes it.
No, that's not
man,
leadership.
I hope he gets away from the camera soon. So we dodged the bullet. You can't have somebody in the Oval Office being the leader of the free world when this is the track record. And I think that is why, number one, above anything else, why you're seeing voters, minority voters, are leaving him or do not have the enthusiasm for him because they know what we know. They know he sucks. They just won't say it out loud, but they already know.
Hot garbage. Yeah. And
he sucks. Joe Biden sucks.
On the world scale, the world is watching. I've mentioned being on the verge of World War III on multiple occasions now. The disastrous withdrawal that we saw in Afghanistan was where this whole thing began. This feckless leadership. This is where Vladimir Putin realized that, this is now the time for us to take Ukraine. Would have never happened under President Trump. Would have never happened.
Never.
What happened in Israel in October would have never happened under President Trump. Right now, China is looking like they're getting ready to start to move on a few countries as well. Would never happen under President Trump because they're looking at a man that can barely read a teleprompter. He cannot walk. He cannot find his way on and off the stage. It's actually elder abuse at this point. And this is not even about Trump at this point. This is about, do we have a guy that can even make it for the next few months? And guess who number 2 is? Kamala Harris. So guess what? Wait, there's more. It actually gets worse than that. And so they are really stuck between a rock and a hard place right now. If you're looking at Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, this dynamic duo that, quite frankly, one might not make it until then. And then if he does it, you have the backfill of Kamala Harris.
Man.
This is a complete disaster.
You can't call
my borders are.
You can't call them a dynamic duo.
No,
man,
no.
Batman and Robin rolling over in their grave. Listen to that.
Sarcasm.
You can't do that.
It's sarcasm. A Texas thing, man.
They do that in Texas. Batman and Robin, you the dynamic duo, not these two. I stand by that.
So looking,
I guarantee it. I stand behind it.
I
guarantee it.
stand by that.
I
I'm
love
sorry.
watching the banter.
She just mentioned, I love watching the banter. They get along very well. They just get along so well. They're like brothers, and I love that. So I just love it. So yeah, it's bad. I don't know what the Democrats are going to do. They got Joe, and then they got Kamala Harris. Woo, she know how to get a position, doesn't she? And we all know what they say she did to get those positions. That's all I'm going to say. But I call her cackling Kamala Harris, because all she does is cackle. And Jim Crow Joe and cackling Kamala Harris. Wow. She next in line. That is pathetic. She is looking real bad. At least get a woman. I mean, women would be good having a woman, but somebody with knowledge, not just any woman. You can't get anybody of any group or gender to just pop up. They need to have sense and be able to answer questions. That's really sad. Come on. Neither one can. It's bad.
You guys, no, it's good. And so looking past the 2024 election, if voters do shift in historic numbers this cycle, as you mentioned before, it's about keeping them engaged, not just during election year, just always making sure that they're involved. How can the GOP keep them?
Well, now I'm going to say this. Republicans have sucked at this too. They've never even thought this was a good idea for a myriad of reasons I don't want to get into, mostly because they just never felt that black people would vote Republican.
Yeah.
And so the political consultants who make millions and millions of dollars running campaigns, let's call a spade, let's call it what it is. They look at the black population and say, well, we could only maybe get 10%. That's a lot of resources to put over there when I could just put it over here. No. That is changing. People in our country, the political foundations of our country are moving under our feet. And people are in a place where frankly, the politicians and the consultants do not think that they are. And frankly, media as well. They don't really know where people are. So I think what we're starting in this election cycle is a continued relationship. And I stress the word relationship, because I don't want a cheap date every 4 years.
Yeah, right.
I want somebody who's coming home.
Who's going to be there?
Who's going to be here with us. And also is going to hold us accountable. If we're veering off, you're going to hold us accountable.
Yeah.
And at the same time, if we're doing good, they'll say, you know what? Keep going. Because this politics thing isn't about who has titles and who has gavels. It's about the people that we all serve. It's about our country being better. We are the greatest republic in the history of the world, but we're crumbling right now. And if we don't get it together,
we can fix it.
It ain't going to last much longer.
And we can fix it, and we will fix it. And this is one thing I will say about him on day one. This is not about I'm the only black guy. Now there's two of us. Now there's four. This is about building a coalition and doing more. We are sitting here right now. We are building roots right here in Philly. I want to come back here in 2 years for the midterm and come back again, because we are actually responding to the groups of people that need this country to be strong the most.
Yeah.
And that is those that are less fortunate. A stronger America benefits them disproportionately than those that have it all. And so we will continue this relationship, but you got to start somewhere. And again, for us, this is not about, we're not going to go out and we're going to get 30% of the black vote this election. That's not going to happen. We're going to try our best to do it. But this is a start.
Yes. This event is the start. And
by the way, of the entire black vote, not just black men. I want to get 30% of the entire black vote.
Bro, you know what happens at 30%?
So
you know what happens.
It's over.
But remember,
it's over. There's no need for an election at that.
So hold on, real quick.
It's math.
I'm gonna talk a little bit of NBA.
Yeah.
2001 dunk contest. Vince Carter. Vince Carter comes out.
Over.
The reverse 360 windmill.
Dunker of all time.
And you saw Shaq with his face through his camcorder being like,
yeah, it's over.
And Vince was walking back.
It's over.
30% of the black vote, you're gonna have Vince Carter. That gif going all through Twitter. So.
Okay, a good note to end on. Is there anything else that you guys would like to add before we wrap up this conversation?
I'm good.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time this evening. Look
Pleasure.
forward to the conversation.
Well, that was an amazing interview. And I've done videos on Wesley Hunt. They're on Rumble. And you can go to ChatWithMeLindaB on Rumble, but type it in as one word. And you know how I feel about Byron Donalds. I really want him to be Trump's VP pick. He's got that power. He's got that bulldog veracity. And he's like another Trump, and which I feel is what we need in this country. Someone who is strong, who will stand up. And I like the fact that Byron Donalds is only in his mid-40s, guys. He's 44. So that will be refreshing, right? To get someone who's younger and energetic, and he's at the top of his game, and he knows what he's doing, and he's for the right principles. And I feel like getting that dynamic, having a black VP like Byron Donalds would really help galvanize the black vote. So if anybody is able to get in touch with Donald Trump, tell him what I said. You need to get Byron Donalds for your VP to get the black vote even more. And please, please, please. And again, I do want to capitalize on what was just stated about Republicans in times past they have not really reached out to the black community because they feel like it's a waste of time. That's how they used to feel, but that's no longer the case because they felt like, oh, they're so devoted. I'm going to spend all my time and resources and they're still going to vote Democrat. That's why they didn't do it, not because they're against Black people. Their principles actually work better for us. Republican, laws and ways of doing things work better for everyone at this point. But we all know the portion of our population that vote Democrat 90% of the time. So some time needs to be spent in those communities to take advantage of the fact that the current administration sucks, and it sucks out loud. So you all tell me what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Thank you all for watching. You could, again, follow me on Rumble, and I'm also on Instagram, TikTok, and X as ChatWithMeLindaB. You all be blessed. Love God, your families, these United States of America. And as I always say, march on, warriors.